All right, let's jump right into a really cool mystery. Where does that feeling of intuition actually come from? We're going to dig into the science, and it points to something pretty incredible: the heart's own unique intelligence. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? That instant knowing, that hunch you get about someone or a situation, and you just can't explain why. It feels like it comes out of nowhere. For centuries, we've kind of just chalked it up to being something mystical, or, I don't know, just random chance. But what if it's not random at all? What if it's a real biological signal that we've just forgotten how to tune into? Well, researchers are now uncovering some pretty compelling evidence that this intuitive sense is very real, and the clues are pointing to an organ we thought we had all figured out. And nope, it's not the brain and it's not the gut. So our whole journey here really begins by challenging a basic assumption, something we all learn as kids. Are we really limited to just 5 senses? Or is there a lot more to how we perceive the world? First off, let's get on the same page about what we mean by intuition. Scientifically speaking, it isn't magic. A better way to think about it is like your brain's own personal supercomputer. It's processing massive amounts of information, past experiences, sensory data, at lightning speed. It just gives you the final answer without showing you all the work. It's a silent, high-speed pattern recognition machine.
To really get a handle on our own hidden potential, sometimes the best place to start is the animal kingdom. I mean, it's filled with abilities that seem like superpowers to us, but for them, it's just another day at the office.
Take magnetoreception, for example. I know, it's a mouthful, but it's a real biological sixth sense. It's the ability to actually perceive the Earth's magnetic field. Not as a thought, but as a direction, a feeling. It's an innate compass that guides creatures across entire oceans and continents. And for this, our star witness has to be the shark. You see all those little dots on its snout? Those are called the ampullae of Lorenzini. They're basically these incredibly sophisticated sensors that can detect tiny little electric currents as the shark swims through the Earth's magnetic field. It is literally feeling its way through the ocean. How cool is that? And sharks are definitely not alone here. Nature is just packed with these extraordinary senses. You've got migratory birds, sea turtles finding their exact birth beach, bats and dolphins literally seeing with sound. This isn't fantasy, this is just established biology. Okay, so let's bring this all back to us. If nature went to the trouble of equipping so many species with these extra senses, could we have a hidden one of our own? A sort of ghost in our machine? I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We share so much DNA and evolutionary history with the rest of the animal kingdom. So is it really that far-fetched to think that we might have a similar ability? Maybe one that's just dormant or working on a subconscious level? And here's the incredible part. The answer seems to be yes. In laboratory settings, when scientists change the magnetic field around a person hooked up to an EEG, their brainwaves change in response. Now, the person doesn't consciously feel a thing, but their brain is absolutely reacting. It seems we do have a magnetic sense. It's just operating below the level of our awareness. So, if our brain can subconsciously pick up on these fields, where does that information go? And how does it get translated into a hunch? Well, this brings us to the main event, the surprising hero of our story, the heart. Okay, I want you to focus on a number, 40,000. This isn't just some random number. It's the number of specialized neurons, brain cells, that have been discovered inside the human heart. And this discovery, it changes everything. These 40,000 neurons form what scientists who study this stuff, neurocardiologists, are calling the heart-brain. It's a whole network that lets the heart learn, remember, and even make decisions on its own. It's essentially a second information processing center right there in your chest. Now, how about another, even more startling number? 60 times. What on earth could be 60 times more powerful in the heart than in the brain? The answer is all about energy. It's the heart's electromagnetic field. Every single beat of your heart generates this powerful electrical pulse, creating a field around your body that is vastly more powerful than the brain's. In fact, it's so strong it can be detected with sensitive instruments several feet away from you. You are literally broadcasting information about your internal state into the space around you. Okay, so we've established that the heart has its own little brain and it's surrounded by a powerful electromagnetic field. But how does this all connect back to intuition? How do we start to decode the language that it's speaking? We used to think of the brain as the big command center, just sending orders down to the heart. Turns out we had it completely backwards. The vagus nerve, which is like the information superhighway connecting them, is mostly a one-way street. And the traffic is flowing from the heart to the brain. The heart is constantly sending up signals that influence how we perceive, feel, and think.
So how does this all work? Well, a few ways. First, through something called interoception, which is really just your ability to sense your own internal body state. That tightness in your chest, that's a direct signal from your heart. Second, through heart rhythm patterns. When you feel positive emotions, your heart rhythms become smooth and orderly, coherent, and this actually boosts your mental clarity and intuitive abilities. And yeah, you can train this. Finally, that powerful field around the heart might be picking up information from the environment that our other senses just totally miss.
And this is where it gets truly mind-bending. Research into this phenomenon called presentiment shows that the heart actually reacts to an emotional event seconds before it happens. In these studies, a person's heart will respond to a random emotionally charged image before it even flashes on the screen, and even before their brain reacts. It's almost as if the heart is getting a preview of the future.
So let's put all these pieces together. What does this actually mean for you? Well, it suggests that you have this incredible sensory and information processing system that you might not even be aware of.
Let's just review the evidence. The case file on the heart. It's got its own brain. It sends way more information to the brain in your head than it gets back. It generates a massive energy field, and its rhythms are directly tied to our emotional and intuitive states. What's really interesting is that ancient traditions have been saying for centuries that the heart is the seat of wisdom. Maybe modern science is just now catching up to that ancient knowledge.
So the huge takeaway from all this is simple, but it's also profound. The heart isn't just a mechanical pump. It is a dynamic, intelligent sensory organ. It is constantly processing and communicating information, feeding it up to your brain.
And that really brings us to our final and most important question. We know that the vast majority, about 80%, of the signals traveling between your heart and your brain are flowing in one direction. Knowing that, the only real question left is, are you listening to what your heart has to say?